Yes.
So my name is Melissa Del Valle Ortiz, and I'm a local community resident and activist in Sunset Park, Brooklyn. And we're here today standing on the corner of 51st and 5th Avenue in front of a campaign that was sponsored by Levis and Intell. And the reason why we're here is because one of the T-shirts that they were using to promote creative learning in Rio de Janeiro depicted an African-American woman in a maid's uniform. And the issue that we had with that image was simply that we found it to be racist, stereotyped, and very dated. The African-American women nowadays, even Aunt Jemima Pancakes, changed the image on their pancake box and modernized her. She is no longer a domestic worker. She is no longer subjugated to these images, and we don't want to resurrect them. So we brought together some local people that identify with the message and it being racist and stereotyped, and support the pulling of this entire campaign. Levi's actually responded very quickly. They stopped the whole campaign, they took down the ads, and they stopped the selling of the T-shirt. So for that, we are very grateful. But the cause doesn't end here today. The cause ends when we don't have to protest these things anymore. The fight stops when these images are no longer resurrected, and when people are respected for all of their contributions to society. So for that being said, I'm going to invite BC Adira-Badula, the Executive Director of Mammy House.
Yeah, this kind of thing continues. I'm not sure who finds it funny, but as a person who works in after-school programs with children, trying to build their self-esteem, trying to teach them that they are of value, this sort of thing is very, very negative. This is the type of thing that they're taught to laugh at. This is not a laughing matter. One wonders, what was the objective? What exactly was the objective of Levi, the artist Santiago, and the public in terms of Intel in planning to put this ad up? What art gonna do in the schools is like, what is it saying? What is it about? Is it about art? Is it about us not having art in the school? Is it about us having more art in the school? What is it about? It's making fun of people's dialect. It's making fun of maids who are very respectable people. Many of my family members had to work as domestic workers in people's homes. And many of these respected women who are immigrants who come to this country to help their children and their families progress continue to be maids and servants in people's homes, in hotels, and other places. So it's very, very offensive. And I think that's the word that was left out. It is offensive. The language is offensive. The image is offensive. The fact that someone else's head is superimposed who is not a domestic worker is offensive. And this artist needs to think about what she's doing when she pushes the envelope and what kind of feedback she's going to get. I applaud Melissa, because Melissa saw this and she took immediate action, and Levi took immediate action when they knew there were going to be a big outcry, and they removed it. It's in that spot right there that says Friends of MOCA. What is going on with the Museum of what is it called? The Museum of
Contemporary Art.
Contemporary Art. I mean, it is a contemporary issue, probably for discussion, but I don't think that's the way we discuss issues, by defaming one group of people. African Americans, Latinos, Caribbeans. It's very, very offensive. And so that is why I'm out here today, to support Melissa and what she did. I really applaud her, because taking action is one of the things that every individual citizen can do and must do when they see these types of images being promoted. Our children look at those images, they internalize it. It's internal oppression in terms of their self-esteem and how they visualize not just themselves, because they may think a lot of themselves, but they're people. Okay, thank you. I'm back.
So, some of the things that we didn't mention that is in the press release is that these T-shirts were going to be used to raise money again for children in Rio de Janeiro, but questions were brought up after this campaign was stopped, including what's going to happen with these T-shirts when they get pulled. Are they going to be donated? Where are they going to be donated? Are they going to destroy them? We were happy to see that the ad was covered up 2 days later. It was wonderful. They really did react responsibly and quickly. But another issue is, how are they going to address this productively in a long-term situation? And so we're actually hoping that Levi's will help to fund programs like the ones that BC runs, where they address cultural sensitivity in communities and teach people about being morally based and grounded in being sensitive, being culturally aware, and things like that. So we're really going to be pushing hard to Levi's to address those two issues. And the next person I'd like to introduce is Miss Carla Solomon Gittins, formerly known as Mrs. White, my 6th grade teacher from PS 272. She retired as a vice principal, and she was there at a time when she was the only African American teacher in the school, and she really was and is our role model. Thank you. Come, Miss White.
Thank you. I'm going to keep my response and my words brief, but I do know what images do to children, and I can't imagine the number of children and youth that pass by this poster, and you may not think that these images remain in their mind, but they do. Subliminal. And then they begin to see themselves in that way, and they begin to see those who look like them in that way. So again, I applaud Melissa, who saw it and acted on it. But what I would ask all of you to do in the community and other communities, make sure that you monitor the kinds of things that are put up in your communities. Monitor the images that our kids see, because it does damage. I've seen it done damage, and it's very difficult to turn it around. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss White. I love her. Okay.
I love you too.
So the next person I want to bring up is Janine Mantine, who's the Cultural Competency and Education Coordinator for Black Women's Blueprint in Brooklyn, New York. Bangles Dead.
Thank you. So first off, I want to echo what everyone said. I absolutely am in agreement. I also want to thank you, Melissa, for seeing something to act on and then actively doing it, and doing a direct action that is on a continuous basis, because as you have said, this doesn't really stop here, because it's a representation of a larger multi-pronged approach to creating cultural change. And I think that what's a bit problematic with this situation for me is that we're talking about, particularly Levi's, talking about doing, and MOCA, talking about doing cultural change, and art is a tool for cultural change. And it's very, very unfortunate that an image like this that goes up, that's talking about black womanhood in such a specific way, and specifically talking about the Mammy one-dimensional character of black womanhood, that literally in this picture of Santa Gold emphasized with the larger breasts, her stuffing her breasts, her stuffing on her, like her hips, her, accentuating the domestic worker in this way, is recreating imagery of minstrels and bringing that into our contemporary lifestyle in such a way that we forget that this is about cultural change. And so when you have this one-dimensional image of black womanhood and saying that this is the only black womanhood that's allowed to be represented, a poor domestic worker who doesn't know what's going on or doesn't understand, rather, what cultural change looks like, you limit the knowledge and the multi-dynamic woman that this particular person is, who this woman is not. And that's very problematic, especially if we look at our current elections and the women who showed up, who were 96% of black women who showed up to vote for Obama, are going to be poor black women who are domestic workers. So these are not women who we like to preconceive as being unable to engage in politics, as well as things that matter to us in terms of our infrastructure as, community changers, but also social changers and political changers. So this really limits our idea of who this woman is and who she represents as a multidimensional woman and really puts her back into a caricature really that is oppressive, and that is also being communicated oppressively to our children and to those who are taking these art classes, because art and education and where history and all of these things collide is where we educate ourselves on what our history has been and where we're going to go and how we're going to deconstruct that and reconstruct that. So if we're sticking with the same type of imagery and we're sticking with the same type of analysis around black womanhood, then we're sticking with the same history that enslaves us, and it doesn't allow for us to decolonize the mind in any shape or form. Another part that's also really detrimental about this that I just realized is that these art products, or this rather campaign, is to sponsor, poor children in Rio de Janeiro, and that's really, really very disturbing because of how Divide and Conquer has worked globally and how Divide and Conquer works in terms of racism, colorism, and classism and how those things collide. And so to have this imagery of this poor woman who is simplified and who is left in the lower class and who will be oppressed within these other forms of institutional oppression and through those internalized oppressions that we carry, that causes for that is the same cause for the problems of conquer and divide and conquer within pretty much every place that was colonized at some point for people of color. And to say that this form of education is going to go to those students who have mothers who are still domestic workers, who are still being killed because they are poor and because they are people of color, is very, very disturbing. And I also wanted to speak to that part about Levi's and what is going to happen with those T-shirts. Well, part of Levi's mission is sustainability, even environmental sustainability, which is already oversimplified because environmental sustainability is really connected to a larger social justice network, including cultural sustainability. They can actually take those T-shirts and do something that relates to environmental sustainability and take those T-shirts and turn them into something else. So there's a million other things that they can do to hold corporate responsibility in terms of response, but the larger thing that they can do is have social responsibility, and the larger thing that the artists can do and us individually is have social responsibility and figure out how do we have these conversations in a way that we recognize that what we do individually as artists, as activists, and the way in which we want to communicate our ideology is going to look different when it's being blasted out globally in the way that people understand their own history, in the way that people understand their own culture and their connection and interculturalism with other groups, and how that gets reappropriated. So there's a lot of other deeper conversations that need to be had around this, and I just also want to say thank you for doing this and just to recognize that this is a very limited response about black womanhood, and that by putting that out as fact and by putting that out as a form of media communication about what black womanhood looks like, we're shaping how people respond to black women everywhere who are multidimensional human beings. That's pretty much it.
Wow, Janine. Don't ask her for her opinion. She'll give it to you. So let me tell you where this all came from. Was that I came from voting on November the 6th, which is just 2 blocks away on 50th and 6th, and was on my way to work to 51st and 5th, and literally came face to face with this advertisement of an African American woman dressed as a maid. And one of the biggest problems that I had with it after looking at it and going back and researching it on the internet was that they referred to that image as well as the artist as humorous and politically charged. There was nothing in that photograph that was funny, that had anything to do with politics. It was just offensive and racist, and I couldn't sit back and do nothing, not on that day, especially not on that day. And so I did launch a campaign on Facebook. I did reach out to local friends, executive director of BC Diribatula, and some other friends co-signed, and I reached out to a lot of organizations, and they were all like, well, if you need us, we're here. And I took that, and I ran with it, and we stopped it. So I'm here to say to you, if you see something, don't just say something, do something. Do something about it. If you don't like the way things are being portrayed, if you don't like the way your community looks, if you don't like the way it's kept, then do something. It's not enough to sit back and say, well, when is somebody else? Why can't that answer be found in you? So thank you for today. Thank you for coming out. It's freezing. We're going to go get some coffee now. Thank you.
I'd like to say something else.
Oh, wait. I'm going to come.
Yeah, plenty of room. Let me just press record.